So what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Robert, if this is your first time tuning in. So today we're going to be talking about some phantom cost, or some not common costs that people may not consider when they come to purchasing land, maybe living out in the country, whatever it is. I made a short list on my phone on a little notepad of some costs that either I have incurred or costs that I know other people have incurred owning land. So we're going to cover those today. Again, my name is Robert. If you enjoy content like this, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And if you have any other questions or something like that, you can always drop it down in the comments. I usually will get to the comments within usually 3 days, two days, depending how busy I am. But yeah, definitely let's go ahead and get into it. So first one I have is going to be the insurance. If it's raw land, typically the insurance is going to be cheaper. If you have a house on there, or you're building a house on there, got a spider web, the insurance is going to be a little bit more expensive. Obviously there's more to insure if you have a home on there, but that's something that people don't consider when they have raw land. Now again, the land isn't going to go anywhere, but in the event, you know, a fire happens, God forbid a fire happens or something like that, it's going to depreciate the value of the land. It's not going to be as worth as much. Say you have some big large trees that add value to the property, they burn down in a fire, you know, now your property isn't really worth as much. The land is still there, it's just not worth as much. But there are insurances that will insure you. Typically if you have like a water well out there, or you have maybe an electricity pole, small little cabin, there's different types of insurances for different types of scenarios. So again, look with get with some providers, see who can insure you for whatever you are looking for. Again, those are just some thoughts that I have as a landowner myself. Now the next one I have is water well drilling. I actually got this question on my last video, and this guy was a little bit more informed on it, but a lot of people that I run into, I guess because I grew up around here, I kind of knew this early on, but a lot of people don't know that water comes from underground, guys. Like, you may be watching this and may be shocked. A lot of you watching this might already know this, I don't know, but you'll be surprised how many people do not know that the water comes from underground. Basically, it's a reservoir, it's a lake underground, and that's where we pull our water from. I've also had a lot of people, or encountered a lot of people, just in and out through real estate, doing real estate deals, that, you know, people will quickly turn around and sell their properties, not realizing that there's no city water supply, or not realizing that you know, to drill a well, it's expensive. Today you're looking at over 20,000, 30,000, depending on how deep you have to go, depending on terrain, depending on how many gallons per minute you want. So again, it's a cost that people will sometimes overlook, not consider, or unknowingly not consider because they don't know that water comes from underground, and you're not getting city water. You're gonna have to drill a water well to get water to your property. So I've ran into this a lot of times. People do not know that water comes from underground. They do not know that being out in the country, you're self-reliant on providing water for yourself. The city doesn't provide water. It's, you know, you have to tap into the ground and see how much water you can pull up. So again, another phantom cost, a cost that many people do not know about. So the next one I have is a vehicle. Might be wondering why in the heck, how in the heck would a vehicle come into play when it comes to the cost of land? Well, it depends on what type of property you purchase. If you're purchasing a really rocky terrain property, or a property with a lot of mesquites like so, or cactus like so, freaking stick got me. You're gonna need some 10-ply tires. You're gonna need a truck. You're gonna need 4-wheel drive. If you only have a 2-wheel drive vehicle and you don't have a well-developed road system, chances are you're gonna be getting stuck pretty quickly. You know, something I ran into early on in my 20s when I first bought land, you know, something I didn't really think about till I was getting stuck every freaking week, every time it was raining during the rainy season, and it was getting annoying. So it eventually had to get with a 4-wheel drive vehicle. And that actually stopped until we did some road development. But yeah, that's something that people don't consider, is that there may be an added cost when you buy land, and that's upgrading your vehicle. If you currently have a 2-wheel drive vehicle, or if you have a car or some other vehicle that may not be capable of driving on the terrain that you purchased, that's gonna be an added cost, because sooner or later you're gonna figure out that, oh, I may need to get thicker tires. I may need to go from 4-ply tires to 10-ply tires, or I may need to go from a 2-wheel drive vehicle to a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Again, these are things that I personally didn't consider when I first bought land, and I found out later on. Again, it just depends on the type of terrain you purchase. Maybe it's a Jeep, maybe it's a truck, whatever you need, but maybe you're gonna be hauling things. But something to consider. Again, not a deal breaker, but just, you know, something to be aware of, I guess. The next thing kind of ties into this, to the vehicle thing, and that's going to be the road maintenance or road cost. So for me, it cost me over, we did it ourselves, by the way. We did a 1/3 of a mile of a road, and it cost me about $8,000 to $9,000, and that's because we did it ourselves. Had we hired this out, you're probably looking at closer to $20,000 to develop a road. Why is a road important? Well, if you don't want to be wasting your time getting unstuck, especially in the type of clay that we have, it was pretty frequent that we were getting stuck. So started wasting a lot of time. And yeah, it was beginning to be a problem, because over time when it would rain, we come out here or come out to the property, you know, we start creating ruts, basically ditches with our own vehicles, because the vehicles are heavy when it rains, and now it creates more and more holding places for water, and then it starts to become worse and worse and worse with time. So to avoid that, we threw down some caliche or base, road grade base, and that kind of solved that problem. Now again, that's something that people would not consider, especially if you've never lived out in the country. You won't really think about that until a year later you're bouncing around all over the place trying to go to your property. So that's when you think, man, we really need to do something about this road. So again, something to consider, something to think about when you are looking to purchase land. Now the last and final thing, and probably the most important, in my opinion most important, is going to be your time. Your time is going to be your biggest cost when it comes to land ownership. Unless you are a very, very, very well off young man, old man, middle-aged man, whatever, it's going to cost you a lot of time. You're either going to have a lot of time or you're going to have a lot of money. So if you don't have a lot of money to be paying people to manage the property for you, then you're going to have to do it. Like I said, either time or money. Most of us have one or the other. For me, I have more time than I have money. So I do a lot of stuff myself. It costs a lot of time. It costs days out here sometimes, especially when you start off with the property, buying the property. It's gonna take a lot of time, just trimming trees, taking out brush, clearing out roadways, clearing out paths to get to point A to point B through your property. Again, this is what it looks like here. Pretty thick stuff. So you can only imagine how long it took to just clear out paths on the property by hand. Now later on we did bring in some equipment, but in the beginning we did a lot of it by hand because we really weren't too familiar with the property, didn't really know where everything was at, kind of had to situate ourselves and kind of align ourselves, get an idea of where we were. Then as time went on, we started bringing out equipment, but that's something people don't consider as the time. Again, maintaining fences is going to take time. Walking the property takes time. If you're going to run cattle, it takes time. Maintaining your road takes time. I mean, everything you do out here is going to take time. For us, mesquite trees, twice during the spring we have to do some really deep cutting of the mesquites because they will grow super fast, especially once they start growing beans. The branches start to break off and they start to block your roadways. When you get a strong wind, Now you have a down tree in the road. Again, these are just things that people may not think about, may not consider until it's until you already own the property, and then you realize, you know, that it takes a lot of time. So like I said, if you have a lot of money, not a big deal. You can just pay somebody to handle all this stuff for you. If you don't, something to consider for yourself. Again, it's just little things like that. Last thing you need is, you know, you're on your way to work in the morning and you have a big old down mesquite tree on the road, right? So just little things like that, not deal breakers in my opinion. Just things to consider, things to be aware of, so you can hopefully mitigate that in the future. Kind of how I'll kind of, I guess, give you some quick information how we kind of do it. You know, I kind of like having a shaded road, but I've kind of somewhat gotten away from it to a point, not necessarily totally, and that's just cutting back further. We just cut the trees back further, so hopefully it gives us more time between cuttings that we have to come out here and trim the trees back. That's kind of how we do it now. Again, one thing I did not think about or mention is grass shredding or grass cutting. They're gonna have to take care of the grass. You don't want it overgrown. So you're either gonna have cattle that'll help you take care of that, or you're gonna have to take care of it yourself, cutting it or mowing it. So again, all these things take time, just like owning a house. There's a lot of maintenance with owning a house. Same thing with land, there's a lot of maintenance with owning land. So hope this was informational, beneficial, and I guess just totally informational. But if you gained any value from this, definitely give this video a like, share, and a subscribe. Until next time, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.